Hello and welcome back to my channel. So before we go over a summary of chapter 8 in Jane Eyre, make sure to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any of my upcoming content. So, chapter 8 of Jane Eyre, fairly simple chapter in my mind. So Jane, she went through her punishment of having to stand on the stool and wear that sign saying that she was a liar, and she, when that punishment is done with it, when the day is over, she's so sad. She kind of had felt like being at Lowood was this new start, and she could kind of like leave her past behind, leave the difficulties of being in the Reed house behind, but instead, with what Mr. Brocklehurst did, it just kind of labeled her the same way that she had been labeled wrongly at her aunt's house. And so she's very distraught about this. And Helen comes and talks to her, and Helen basically says, kind of what I said at the end of the last chapter, is like, people aren't going to hold this against you. Mr. Brocklehurst really isn't that well liked, so like, you don't really need to worry about the other girls, the other students, and even the other teachers believing him. And Helen, also being in true Helen form, says, what really matters is that your conscience is clear and that you don't feel guilt, and all of that. And during this conversation, or at the end of this conversation, Jane does notice that Helen seems to be getting sick, and she finds that a little concerning. And then in this chapter, Miss Temple invites Helen and Jane to her room, and they have tea, and they have a really lovely evening. To start the evening, though, Jane does tell Miss Temple a little bit about her childhood and her upbringing with Mrs. Lloyd. She tells Miss Temple about the incident in the Red Room and generally just how she was treated there. And she does bring up Mr. Lloyd's name. And Miss Temple knows Mr. Lloyd, so she says she'll write to him and just, kind of double check Jane's account of everything. Because what Jane is basically saying is, I'm not a liar, and, this is my side of the story of what Mr. Brocklehurst came and told everybody. And so eventually Miss Temple does do that, and she later tells all the girls in the school and the other teachers, she says, Jane has been cleared of these charges made against her, and, she's not to be shunned or anything. So she does do that as a result of that conversation. While they are still having tea and having this nice little evening with Miss Temple, Miss Temple has then brought some seed cake, and Jane also is enamored by this conversation that ensues between Miss Temple and Helen. Jane is just like so inspired by their eloquence and just their knowledge of history and nature and all these other topics. So she gets a little peek into not only more of Helen's qualities, but also Miss Temple. And, she's also shown that little bit of kindness, which is so important. Miss Scratchard does find, they've finished their tea with Miss Temple, and later on Miss Scratchard, she does find Helen's things more disorganized than she wants, so she tapes this thing that says slattern, meaning like slatternly, like lazy, disorganized, to Helen, and makes her wear that all day. And when Mrs. Scatcherd finally leaves, Jane is just like so upset, and she tears it off and throws it into the fire and is just very defensive of Helen. And you know, you can obviously tell that Jane has much more of a passion, and I don't even want to say rebellion, because what she's rebelling against is something anyone should rebel against. You know, she's rebelling against mistreatment and abuse and all those kind of things. But you know, you can definitely tell that Jane is the more fiery spirit, and Helen is just kind of very like patient and long-suffering. I shouldn't roll my eyes when saying that, but she's very patient. She's very sweet. And then it's at the end of the chapter when Miss Temple says like, Jane is cleared of these charges against her being, you know, a liar and a bad person, and Jane is able to just move forward and really bury herself. I don't want to use the term bury. Just really like wrap herself up in enjoying her studies and learning. You know, she learns to enjoy this time at Lowood far more than she ever did at Gateshead, and she's much happier. She has much more enthusiasm about what is to come. So that is chapter 8 of Jane Eyre. I hope that these summary videos come in helpful too. I know the chapters of Jane Eyre can be quite lengthy, and it's also written in such a way that the way we talk today is not the way they used to talk, you know, 100 years ago. So 150, I don't even know exactly anymore. I think it's around 150. So anyway, the way they write, if you're not used to reading that kind of writing, it can take even longer to read a chapter. So I hope these summary videos help you. I hope the chapter videos help you, and I hope you subscribe to continue getting more of this content that I want to share with you. So hope to see you back around, and thanks for watching.